History isn't always planned. Sometimes, the moments that change the world aren't written in a script. They aren't practiced in a mirror. They come from a place deeper than preparation. They come from the heart. August 28, 1963. A man stands before 250,000 people, the weight of a movement on his shoulders. In his hands, he holds a carefully written speech. A good speech. A powerful speech. But it is not the speech history would remember. This was the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, the culmination of years of struggle, of sit-ins, and of brutal battles for basic human dignity. The stakes were incredibly high. The world was watching, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was the final speaker of a long, hot day. His team had worked for days on the words he was about to deliver. They had debated every line, every phrase. The speech was meant to be a political call to action, a formal address to the nation's conscience. It was titled, "The Negro and the American Dream." To understand the importance of this day, you have to understand the fire of 1963. This wasn't just a march, it was an exhale of pain and an inhale of hope. It was a response to the brutal realities of segregation. In Birmingham, Alabama, just a few months earlier, the world had watched as fire hoses and police dogs were turned on peaceful demonstrators, many of them children. The fight for civil rights was at a tipping point. It could either explode into further violence or it could galvanize the soul of the nation. Organizing the march was a monumental risk. President Kennedy's administration was nervous, fearing it could erupt into chaos and set the movement back years. Many thought it was a bad idea. But the leaders, men like Philip Randolph, who had dreamed of a march like this for decades, and the brilliant strategist Bayard Rustin, knew it had to happen. They needed to show America the face of the movement, not an angry mob, but a coalition of conscience. Black and white, young and old, united in a peaceful demand for justice. And so they came, by bus, by train, by car, and even on foot. 250,000 people. They gathered not with anger, but with a powerful sense of purpose. The mood of the day wasn't one of confrontation, it was one of hope. There was music, Joan Baez, Bob Dylan, and the great gospel singer Mahalia Jackson. It felt like America was holding its breath, watching to see what would happen. The program was long. Speaker after speaker came to the podium. Each one delivered powerful words, sharing the pain and the promise of the movement. But as the afternoon wore on, the Washington heat took its toll. The crowd was getting tired. The energy, while strong, was beginning to wane. The final speaker had the difficult job of reigniting that spirit and leaving a lasting impression on the nation. That job fell to Dr. King. So he stepped up to the microphone. For the first several minutes, he delivered the speech as it was written. He spoke of the promissory note that America had given its citizens of color, a promise of freedom and equality that had come back marked insufficient funds. He spoke of the fierce urgency of now. It was a brilliant political analysis. It was logical, powerful, and well-reasoned. You can hear it in his voice. He is a great orator delivering a great speech. But something was missing. The fire that people knew he possessed wasn't fully there. It hadn't yet become a sermon. And then a moment happened. It wasn't planned. It wasn't in the script. Standing near the podium was Mahalia Jackson. She was Dr. King's favorite gospel singer and a dear friend. She had sung earlier in the day, moving the crowd with her powerful voice. She knew Dr. King well. She knew the kind of preacher he was when the Spirit truly moved him. She had heard him talk about his dream in sermons before. As he paused, she sensed the same thing many did, that he needed to connect on a deeper level. From behind him, her voice, a voice that could shake the heavens, called out. She shouted, "Tell them about the dream, Martin. Tell them about the dream." At first, it seems he doesn't hear her. He continues with his text. But then she says it again. And this time, something changes. You can see it happen. Right there, in front of the entire world, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. makes a decision. His advisor, Wyatt T. Walker, was in the crowd and reportedly said, "Oh Lord, he's going off script." He was. Dr. King pushed the pages aside. He looked out at that sea of humanity, and he left the safety of his written words behind. He transformed from a political speaker into a Baptist preacher. The entire rhythm of his speech changed. The cadence, the power, the passion, it all shifted. This was not in the script. The most famous words he ever spoke were unwritten. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin but by the content of their character. This was the dream he had spoken of in smaller churches, in private moments. But now, prompted by a friend's call to his spirit, he was sharing it with the world. He was no longer just addressing the issues, he was painting a picture of a better world. He was giving people not just a list of grievances, but a vision to hold on to. A reason to keep believing. In that moment, a political rally transformed into a historical turning point. The unwritten words, spoken from the heart, did what the prepared text could not. They reached past the mind and grabbed the soul. They gave the struggle a universal language. It was no longer just about policy and legislation, it was about the fundamental dream of a shared humanity. History remembers the dream, but it's important to remember the moment it was born. A moment of risk, a moment of faith, a moment when a leader put aside his notes and chose to speak from a place beyond words, from a place of pure, unwritten truth. It reminds us that sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is to stop reading the script, listen to our hearts, and simply tell them about the dream.